Join us at Walters on Friday, October 4th for our end-of-season podcast party. The evening is scheduled from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m.
The 1-2. Fastball loop to shallow right. Gallo chasing back. It's going to dunk in along the line for a hit. It's going to score 2. Gallo picks it up. Is over to third is Marte. A pop fly single scores Acuna and Iglesias, and the Mets lead 3-1. Tough break, a very weak pop-up. Fielded in shallow right field by the first baseman, brings in 2 runs. Here's the wind of the 1-1. Swing a long drive left field. Way back it goes, and it is long gone. Alvarez stood and admired. He's not yet at first base. He is now. He will circle the bases with a homer, making it 5-1 Mets. Number 9 on the season.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Wednesday, September 18th, 2024, along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who was at Citi Field in New York City. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. So we in the past have joked about that line from Seinfeld regarding the day of Tuesday having no feel. Unfortunately, the last 2 Tuesdays for the Nationals have very much had a feel, and it has been a bad feel. Tuesday evening, September 10th, a 12-0 loss to the Atlanta Braves at Nationals Park. And now this most recent Tuesday night, September 17th, a 10-1 loss at the New York Mets in Game 2 of a 3-game series. The Nats for this regular season fall to 68-83, must go at least 4-7 over their final 11 games in order to surpass last regular season's record of 71-91. This installment of the Nats Chat podcast brought to us by Mason Kalfas and his team of 10 legal recruiters at Zenith Legal in Washington, D.C. Check out Mason's website today, zenithlegal.com, or call or text Mason anytime, 202-486-3535. So C.J. Abrams on Tuesday night was back, although the Nats did lose Luis Garcia Jr. We'll see if that's a serious situation or not. Dylan Cruz on Tuesday night did have 3 hits, but the Nats only had 4 hits. Cruz's 3 hits, Abrams 1 hit. That was it. Mitchell Parker, rough outing. The Nats bullpen, rough night, save for Tanner Rainey. And Mark, the Nats on Tuesday night got ripped.
This was no contest, Hal. One night after really playing a good, crisp, clean game, and I know they didn't win it, but they were right there in it, and one clutch hit in the 9th or the 10th, and they do win the game. So one night after, I thought, they actually showed pretty well in a big ball game, at least for the Mets. It was the complete opposite in this one. They barely showed up for this one. It was lopsided from the get-go. Gets to the point where Davey is pulling his starters late in the game, giving them some extra rest. It was garbage time pretty much the second half of this game. And it was another one of these nights where offensively, it feels like they sometimes hit a point that they just turn the switch off and go through the motions the rest of the night. There was nothing at the plate for them after about the 3rd inning, to be honest.
Bad outing for Nats starting pitcher Mitchell Parker. 5 runs in 3 2/3 innings. It's funny with Parker. It feels like he either lasts for 6 innings or he has a really bad outing. And unfortunately for him on Tuesday night, the latter was the case. He gave up 7 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 5 singles, issued 2 walks, recorded just 1 strikeout, 78 pitches, 45 strikes, 33 balls. But I'm guessing what sticks with a lot of people the most from Parker's outing is yet another fielding mistake. Parker in the bottom of the 3rd allowed 4 runs on a double, 2 singles, 2 walks, and an RBI sac fly. One of the singles was an opposite field infield single by Jose Iglesias on a grounder to first baseman Joey Gallo on a 1-2 pitch. Parker on the grounder, late to cover first base. I don't know if he forgot. I don't know if he was just slow to the bag, but late to cover the bag.
The 2-strike offering. Swinging a ground ball right side, a sprawling stop. Gallo. Parker's late to cover, and Gallo drops the ball anyway, and they don't get an out.
Now, Gallo bobbled the ball anyway. The play went down as a hit, but make no mistake, this was another instance of Mitchell Parker not fielding his position well. Now, there was some bad luck for Parker in that inning. A bases-loaded 2-run opposite field single by Pete Alonso to no man's land in shallow right field on a 1-2 pitch for a 3-1 Mets lead. So again, bad luck for Parker right there, but he in this game was not good. And man, the fielding just continues to stand out.
We're out of excuses. I mean, there are none at this point. And yes, it goes down as a hit. Yes, Gallo bobbled the ball, but I think he bobbled the ball because he fielded it. He looked up ready to toss it to the pitcher and saw the pitcher wasn't there, and it threw him off and he lost grip on it and dropped it. So I put that entirely on Parker himself. And look, I get it, at this point in the season, you're not going to do anything about this, but his livelihood in the big leagues might depend on this, on his ability to clean this up. He'll go into spring training, I think, at least as their number 5 starter, or at least competing for that spot. But at some point, there's going to have to be a leash there. And if they do have some other options that are challenging him for that, you could pitch well. But if you do not field your position, and let's be clear, we're not just talking about like little things on occasion. This is like every start, something is happening. And in this case, not even a physical error. This is a purely mental error. If you're a pitcher and a ground ball to the right side, it's ingrained in your mind, supposed to be, get over there immediately. And it wasn't there for him. So at some point, this has got to catch up to him. And at some point, if this were to continue early next season, I think the Nationals have to look hard at this and say, can we rely on this guy to pitch in meaningful big league games? Even if he's effective as a pitcher, he's going to cost them games with this. And until he shows he can improve this, I think it's something they really have to be concerned about.
Mitchell Parker for this regular season, as of games through Monday, so this does not include what happened on Tuesday night, was tied for next to last among all pitchers in the majors in defensive runs saved at -4. Now, it's interesting. Jake Irvin for this regular season, as of games through Monday, was tied for first among all pitchers in the majors in defensive runs saved at +6. So the Nats in the rotation of one of the best and one of the worst fielding pitchers in the majors. But yeah, I think you make a key point there. It's one thing if you're a bad fielding pitcher because you lack the flexibility, the dexterity to field your position well, you don't have good fielding instincts. Okay. When you make a mental error like that, that's inexcusable. Like, you can control your mental capacity in a game. You can control how you're interpreting what you should be doing defensively speaking on a play. And something like that was quite bad. And, you look at Parker now. He, for the regular season, has made 28 starts at the major league level. His ERA is at 4.44. His whip is at 1.30. It's funny, off his last outing, we sung his praises because he has actually lasted for at least 6 innings in a good chunk of these starts. 13 out of the 28 starts, he's lasted at least 6 innings. He deserves a lot of credit for that. But the other starts, when he doesn't last for 6 innings, they don't tend to go very well, those outings. And so you're left with this very sort of difficult to digest statistical profile. And, if you have an ERA around 4.5, that's really not good enough to warrant bad fielding. Like, if you're a bad fielding pitcher, but you have an ERA under 3, okay, I think most teams can live with that. If you're a bad fielding pitcher and your ERA is flirting with getting to 5, that's a different conversation.
Yeah, 100%. You better be able to do the little things right if you can't be counted on to, get outs or, keep runs to a minimum. And what it does is it prolongs innings. It leads to these very long innings and high pitch counts for him. And we're not quite at the end yet. Everybody's still got a couple starts to go. So maybe you don't want to make any real declarations here. But I feel like at this point, you take the 4 young starters and kind of rank them where they fit moving forward. I think it's pretty clear that Mackenzie Gore and Jake Irvin are in that top category. Like, they're certainly part of this for next year and should have some pretty high hopes for the two of them as potential frontline big league starters. I think DJ Herz is in the next category, which is, we saw a lot of potential there. And when he's good, he's really good. And it's just a matter of, can he find some consistency? But at the very least, he's going to be part of this going into next season. Where that slots in, I don't know, but with the potential to climb up there, the ladder towards the top of the rotation. And in Parker's case, I think he's in his own category below that, where you say, yes, he showed a lot this year, way more than we expected him to, made it through the season healthy, had some good starts, and as you said, can go deep into games, but doesn't really have that ceiling that the other guys do, and hasn't shown enough consistency and all these other little things enough to say, yes, he's definitely a part of the future. Again, I think as things stand, he's probably their number 5 starter going into next year. But I don't think that should be a very secure position. And I think he's still going to have to earn something in the long run. I don't think you can declare that he is clearly part of the long-term plan here.
You can. And, we talked about this a few weeks ago. There very possibly will be an odd man out for the Nats rotation to begin next season. When you think about, okay, if they this offseason sign a starting pitcher of consequence, maybe multiple starting pitchers of consequence, and in theory, you perhaps have Cade Cavalli in the season opening rotation next year, who knows? Even with Josiah Gray out for most, if not all of next season due to his surgery, you're starting to have more pitchers than there are available spots in your rotation. So, it is conceivable that one of these guys who we're talking about isn't in that rotation to begin next regular season. Now, I do wonder if maybe that'll be Cavalli that maybe starts next season at AAA. I would think that that's at least possible. But yeah, if Parker doesn't end the season well, has a bad spring training, who knows? Nothing is guaranteed in that regard. He's done a lot of good things this season. We're not trying to bury the guy, but, I think Tuesday night was kind of a reminder of there is good and then there's the not so good. And that fielding, I think that drives you nuts. If you're a Nats fan watching Mitchell Parker, it is aggravating because like you said, every outing, there's one moment where he just does something from a fielding standpoint that isn't good.
Yeah. And again, it's turning potentially short or not so bad innings into long and really bad innings. Think about the play Jake Irvin made in the opener, the great play with the bases loaded to get out of that jam.
The kick and the pitch. Swinging a tapper, third base side. It's going to be a tough one. It's a spinner. It's picked up by Irvin. The throw to first is in time for the out. And Irvin is fired up about it.
If he doesn't make that play, that inning can spiral on him, and that changes the whole nature of the game. Now think about this one. I know it wouldn't have been the third out of the inning, but it could change the trajectory of the inning if he just makes a very routine play as opposed to the one by Irvin, which was anything but routine. And so it does make a difference. You look in the course of history, the guys who can field their position really well in addition to pitching really well, it makes a difference and it helps them last longer in games, have longer and successful careers. The guys who don't, it really becomes something you have to try to overcome. As you said, you better be a 3 ERA pitcher if you're going to try to get away with not being good in the field.
Are you a lawyer that hates your boss even more than you hate jerks and Profar? Does your law firm always fail, just like the San Diego Padres? Well, Nats Chat sponsor Mason Kalfas is the best legal recruiter in the DC legal market, and you should give him a call. Mason specializes in working with law firm partners, associates, and senior government lawyers in antitrust, securities enforcement, energy, and life sciences. Mason is the founder of Zenith Legal, a 10-person legal recruiting firm with recruiters in D.C., New York, Philadelphia, and other cities. Mason has placed partners and associates in over half of the AmLaw 100 law firms. All conversations are 100% confidential and focused holistically on your career goals. Some lawyers change jobs for more money, some change jobs because of client conflicts, and some change because their colleagues are losers like the Padres and Phillies. Step up to a World Series winner and hire the best legal recruiter out there for free. Call Mason Kalfas today at 202-486-3535.
Hey, Al Galdi here to tell you about the latest great offer from Window Nation for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast. 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years. If you have been thinking about getting new windows, now is the time. Get with Window Nation, 866-90Nation or windownation.com, and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. September has arrived. A great time to replace your old inefficient windows with energy efficient windows from Window Nation. You can get a free no obligation quote from Window Nation right now. Contacting Window Nation and seeing what new Window Nation windows would cost you costs you nothing, obligates you to nothing. 866-90Nation or windownation.com, and take advantage of the great offer for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast. 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years. 866-90Nation or windownation.com. That's 866-90Nation or windownation.com, and tell Window Nation that Al Galdi sent you.
What's up, everybody? It's Heisman Trophy winner Matt Leinart. I've got a podcast called Throwbacks with actor Jerry Ferrara where we'll be talking all things sports, but also so much more. We'll give you the behind-the-scenes stories from my days as the quarterback on an iconic college football team to Jerry's days as a star on an iconic TV series. So subscribe to Throwbacks wherever you download your podcasts and follow us on all social media at Throwback Show.
He's 2 for 3, a double, a single. Driven home a run with his double to left center in the third. Lined out to center in the fourth. Singled and scored on the 3-run homer by Alonso and drives one to deep left center field. This is way back, and this one is gone. Goodbye. Luis Angel Acuna with his first big league home run on a 3-hit night for the rookie infielder. Making just his second start and playing in just his 4th big league game at the age of 22. And what a big night for him. He puts the Mets in double digits here in the bottom of the 8th inning. It's now New York 10 and Washington 1.
So the Nats bullpen in this 10-1 loss at the Mets on Tuesday night. 4 Nats relievers combined to allow 5 runs in 4 and a third innings. You had 3 of the 4 relievers each giving up at least 1 run. And then you had Tanner Rainey being really good. Kind of odd how this broke down. But Eduardo Salazar, 1 run in 1 and a third innings. Zach Brzykcy, bottom of the 6th, allowed 3 runs. He in that inning gave up a 2-out, 3-run homer by Pete Alonso to left field on an 0-2 pitch for a 9-1 Mets lead. Then we did get Rainey, and again, he was good. A perfect bottom of the 7th with 3 strikeouts. But Joe LaSorsa in that bottom of the 8th gave up a solo homer. So, we do see this with the Nats bullpen. When it's bad, you can have these outings where, like, not just 1 or 2 runs are given up, but like 3, 4, 5 runs are given up. And the bad pitching can kind of spread from one reliever to another. Although, like I said, within the mix there was Rainey looking about as good as he's looked here.
Well, so this was a B bullpen game because they were trailing by that much. But I'll tell you what, I think it's time for Tanner Rainey to maybe be moved out of the B bullpen and into the A bullpen. Do you know that his ERA for the season is now under 5? And over the last couple months, it's in the 2s, I believe. He has very quietly turned his entire season around. Now, again, there haven't been a lot of high leverage spots. He's gotten a couple of them. I think it should be Davey Martinez's mission the rest of the way to try to get him in there in some situations of consequence and find out, can the stuff that he has at this point in his career translate into success in situations of real consequence, because that could change your outlook going into next year. Is this just the 8th reliever in an 8-man bullpen, or could he be somebody who's considered an actual setup man with some late inning potential like he used to be before the injury? So it's been quiet, but he has done a really admirable job of turning his whole season around after a disastrous start to it. And I'll tell you what, credit to the Nationals, because how many times did we talk about early in the year, how long are they going to stick with this guy? Why are they using up a spot on a guy they will not use in any meaningful situation? They stuck it out. He got better. Maybe it's going to pay off for them in the long run.
They did. I mean, I wonder how much of that was they didn't have many better options, and so they kind of felt compelled to stick with him. But yeah, I mean, it may work out for the best, and they do deserve credit in that regard. And, we are seeing Davey Martinez experiment with some things, right? Jose A. Ferrer being used in some higher leverage spots here lately. So in these dying days of the season, why the heck not give Tanner Rainey more high leverage opportunities and see how he ends up doing, but good stuff from him. Do you think Brzykcy is in danger of being optioned? They have not made many moves in this month of the expanded roster. Things have not gone so well for Brzykcy. Do you think they stick with him here for these final 11 games, or do you think a change could be coming?
Well, there is a move that's probably coming later this week. Trevor Williams looks like he's on track to come off the IL probably Friday in Chicago to make that start, and then one more start the following week. So somebody's got to go. It would be out of the bullpen. They're going to end up with a 6-man rotation, I believe, unless they decide to shut a starter down and claim an injury. And I haven't gotten any sense that that's the case. So there's only a few options in the bullpen you would consider there. And I think it's between Brzykcy and LaSorsa. And while Brzykcy may have the higher ceiling down the road, he looks like he could still use some seasoning in the minors. He's not quite there. And a guy who also was coming back from Tommy John. And the sense is that the stuff is not really where they think it will be ultimately. So that could definitely be a move here before the end of the week, I would guess.
We saw a good bit of firepower from the Mets on Tuesday night. We did not see much firepower from the Nats. Just one run, just 4 hits, which were a double and 3 singles. The Nats did draw 3 walks, but the Nats went 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. 3 of the Nats' 4 hits in the game came from one man, Dylan Cruz. That was good to see. We talked about Cruz not doing so well here lately. He did do well in this game. He is the Nats starting right fielder and number 7 batter. Went 3 for 4 with a double and 2 singles. Cruz in the top of the second, a 2-out opposite field double to right field. Cruz in the top of the 7th, a 1-out single through the left side of the infield. The single per StatCast had an exit velocity of 103.6 miles per hour. Now, that was the Nats' highest exit velocity of the game, but that also was just the 8th highest exit velocity of the game. The Mets had the top 7 exit velocities of the game. Ergo, the final score was Mets 10, Nats 1. But also for Cruz, top of the 9th, 1-out single to left field despite having been down at 1.02. Good game for Dylan Cruz, his best game in a decent amount of time here.
And he was back down in the lineup in the 7th spot. And you do wonder if just taking some pressure off him, putting him down there does actually help him somewhat. So maybe we'll see more of that, even though ultimately they view him as a top of the order guy. Maybe for now, it's not the worst thing to have him bat 7th and see how it goes. And also now has his first 2 hits off breaking balls in the big leagues. That's been nice to see. The double down the line was good. That was on a fastball, but the single in the 7th was off a breaking ball. Good to see that. There just wasn't a whole lot else to talk about offensively in this game.
There wasn't. We did have C.J. Abrams back. That was good. Returned from a 4-game absence caused by a sore left shoulder. Nats starting shortstop, number 1 batter, 1 for 3 with a single and a hit by pitch. So he comes back from injury, gets hit by a pitch in his first game back. But Abrams, top of the 1st, leadoff single to left center field, top of the 7th, the 2-out hit by pitch. But the baseball gods giveth, the baseball gods taketh away. Also in this game, Luis Garcia Jr., he is the Nats starting second baseman and number 5 batter, 0 for 2, left the game in the 4th inning due to a sore right wrist. I guess this is one of those things we just have to wait and see how he's doing the following day.
Right. So I guess he felt something on the swing in his second at bat when he struck out. And so they decided not to take any chances and took him out. They'll see how he's doing on Wednesday and decide. My guess is it'll be another late lineup announcement like we had the last few days as they waited on Abrams. Hopefully nothing too serious there. I would like to see Garcia finish out the season strong. He's really had a good year, one of the most encouraging developments of the season for them. So I would like to see him come back and do that. But obviously they're not going to take a chance on it being anything worse and having him do something that would linger into the offseason in any way.
Yeah, this has become a regular occurrence here lately, right? The Nats have been putting out their lineups for these games super late, making your life miserable, I bet.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot of fun when you're, trying to pre-write stories before the game even starts. You don't know who the leadoff hitter is, who the shortstop is. I get it. They wanted to see Abrams go through the whole routine, and we had a sense that he was probably going to play at least in this one, but it wasn't official yet. I guess as annoying as it might be for me, probably even more annoying for the opposing pitcher who's trying to develop a game plan and doesn't know until 60 minutes before first pitch.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised for gamesmanship purposes that you don't see teams do that more often. Maybe try to walk to the line in terms of how late you can put out a lineup, but not really something that we do see a lot of. Yeah, I mean, the Nats' lone run in this game came on an RBI fielder's choice grounder off the bat of James Wood. Like, that's what you're talking about with the Nats offense. Wood in this game, starting left fielder, number 2 batter, 0 for 4, the RBI fielder's choice grounder, and a couple of strikeouts. We have not seen the Nats get blown out a ton this season. We have seen it, though, a little bit here lately. I just hope over these final 11 games, it isn't like tap out time and that we do start to see more of this. You'd like to see the Nats end the season competitively, obviously get some more wins, but I do think the nature of the losses matter. Like, you don't want a bunch of 8-1, 10-0 type losses. Lose with dignity. I know that doesn't sound great, but I think there is something to that. Instead of just getting ripped in some of these games here, the Mets ripped the Nats on Tuesday night. Hopefully it's not a sign of what's to come.
Well, and especially when you're playing teams who are playing for a lot, you want to put your best foot forward. And even if you lose the game, you want to feel like, okay, we put up a good fight and those guys earned it if they're ultimately going to make the playoffs, that they earned it. Monday night's game, the result frustrating, but the way they played, I thought, they lived up to the moment. They looked ready for prime time in that game. This one, they did not look ready for prime time at all. And I'll tell you what, it's going to be interesting to see now. The Mets are 2 games up on the Braves at the end of the day because the Braves blew a late lead against the Reds. if the Mets ultimately win out that final wildcard spot, the Nats may have played a big role in that. The Mets are now 10-2 against the Nationals with one game to go. Basically, this is the flip side of the Nats dominating the Marlins all season. That's what the Mets have done to the Nats. But as we know, they also played really well against the Braves. The Nats went 8-5 against Atlanta. So if they eke this out by a game or two over Atlanta, it may very well be their respective records against the Nationals that was the difference.
That is funny. And, it is so difficult from a Nats perspective to figure out what to make of how the Nats have done against their NL East opponents this season, because you want to feel really encouraged by what has happened with the Nats against the Marlins and Braves. But then you look at what's happened for the Nats against the Mets and you're like, well, that's not very good. So I don't know. Sometimes I feel like these records against division opponents in a given season can be kind of random. Like, they can fluctuate from year to year. And in the same season in which you do really well against one good team in your division, you do poorly against another good team in your division. So I'm not sure how we should digest that. But that is an odd juxtaposition of so good against not only the Marlins, but also the Braves, and so bad against the Mets.
I think it may also have to do with specifically who matches up against who in the best way. Clearly, they're better than the Marlins. Okay, I think we can acknowledge that. But with the Braves, I think here's the difference. The Braves have had all kinds of trouble offensively this year. Some of that's injuries, but they also just have not been the same Braves lineup production-wise that we've become accustomed to. And that's why they dominated the Nats the last couple of years, all the home runs they would hit against them. Well, they turned into a low-scoring team. And so the Nats actually beat them in a lot of 3-2, 2-1 kind of games this year. The Mets have a much better lineup, much more powerful, and the Nats pitching staff has not been up to that challenge. And so I think it's been a better matchup for the Mets when they face them than it's been for the Braves, who, even though they're clearly a better team than the Nationals, they're kind of comparable in that when they win, it's low scoring. They get good pitching. They don't hit a whole lot. And so maybe it's actually been a favorable matchup for the Nationals when they face them.
For those interested in learning a new language, whether it be Spanish, French, or something else, check out Babbel. Babbel's 10-minute lessons are quick and handcrafted by over 200 language experts, ready to get you talking about your new language in just 3 weeks, because talking is the key to really knowing any language. Designed by real people for having real conversations, Babbel gets you talking. With over 16 million subscriptions sold, Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by a 20-day money-back guarantee, so no pressure. Here's a special limited time deal for our listeners right now. Get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for Nats Chat listeners at babbel.com/natschat. Get up to 60% off babbel.com/natschat. Spelled BABBEL.com/natschat. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Make Walters your spot for Monday Night Football next week as the Commanders aim to go 2-1. They visit Joe Burrow and the Bengals at 8:15 p.m.
Hey, Nats Chat, want to tell you about Mint Mobile's premium wireless package starting at $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/natschat. That's mintmobile.com/natschat. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/natschat. $45 upfront payment required. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigs on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Now the set at the belt. Abrams does not run. The pitch is hit softly toward short. Acuna has it. He'll flip to the second baseman Iglesias through the bag for one, but his throw to first is not going to be in time. Jacob Young scores, and the Nationals lead 1-0 as Wood picks up the RBI, grounding into the force out.
Well, game 3 for the Nats at the Mets, Wednesday night, 7:10. DJ Herz will be the Nats starting pitcher, and going to be very interesting to see how Herz does in this game. As we have discussed, he's been the Nats' best starting pitcher since the All-Star break. His last 10 starts, ERA of 2.76, strikeouts per 9 innings of 10.5. 4.7. We just talked about the various tiers for these young Nats starting pitchers. Perhaps Herz, if he continues to do well here, can make a case for being in that Mackenzie Gore, Jake Irvin tier come the end of this season. He's been really good these last few weeks.
He has. It's been great to see. As we know, when he's on, he's really, really good. And it's just a matter of avoiding the bad starts where he gets knocked out early and can't throw strikes. I'll be interested how that stuff plays against this Mets lineup. Can he keep the emotions in check in this ballpark? I'm sure, each day it's kind of gotten a little more progressively. The crowds have gotten bigger, a little bit louder. And now they've got a 2-game lead over Atlanta. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of folks at the game on Wednesday kind of urging their team to sweep the series and take control of this race. So I'll be curious to see how DJ Herz handles that being in this kind of environment.
This installment of the Nats Chat podcast brought to us by Mason Kalfas and his team of 10 legal recruiters at Zenith Legal in Washington, D.C. Check out Mason's website today, zenithlegal.com, or call or text Mason anytime, 202-486-3535. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can email the podcast, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. We have a website that you can check out too, natschatpodcast.com, at which you can purchase a Nats Chat podcast t-shirt. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast.